In the last video, it was more my story, what happened, and then where I am now. But now we'll be carrying on with the protocol. How did I find a protocol? What was the process of doing this? And we're going to start with nutrition, which for me is probably one of the biggest cornerstones of our health and our healing. Just to be more conscious even of what we are eating. We started off by going to a functional nutrition therapist, and it was Sally Ann Creed in Cape Town. And I did a email and long distance talk with her, consultation with her, and I was ordered to do some blood tests for her to be able to see where my nutritional deficits were and where they were fine, and then also from that to then be able to give me a plan of eating or a suggested plan of eating for that would be of biggest help to get my body as strong as possible. So before I keep telling my story, I'd just like to stop here and ask, if you like this video, please would you give it a like, a thumbs up. And then if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please would you click the subscribe button. It does help get the story to more people who may want to hear it or be interested in it. And hopefully there'll be someone out there who can help. And then if you click the notification bell, you should be notified of when my next video will drop. At the moment, I am trying to give you one video a week, which normally I'm trying to get into the routine of posting it on a Thursday. So we'll see how that goes. To carry on then with my story, so thank you for that. And to carry on with my story, we'll go back to the blood test. The blood test did show that my vitamin Bs were low, my inflammation markers were high, which of course is the presence of foreign bodies that the body's not happy with being in the body. So these were the places to focus on, was getting my inflammation markers down, keeping my immune system as strong as it was possible to be, and then to be able to balance my nutritional bloods. I don't know how else to put that. When I think about it, I will let you know. The food plan that she gave me was a low carb, medium protein, medium fat, and then high in veg. Of course, it's the green leafy veg that are absolutely vital. They've got so many of the vitamins and minerals, and then of course the cruciferous veg such as broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and so on. The vegetables that she said I had to have less of at this time were the root vegetables, the carrots, potatoes, but I was allowed to have sweet potato because it was lower on the turning carbs to sugar kind of thing. I really am bad at knowing all this dietitian stuff, so I do rely on people with more knowledge than me, and I don't pretend to know everything. Definitely not. Here I needed help. My food is abysmal at the best of times. It was really bad, and I try every day to be as good as I can about it. And you know, when you've got a potentially fatal illness, it's amazing what a good incentive that is for changing the way we live. The other thing, I would say one of the very first things we did, and it was making juices as fresh as possible, as organic as possible, and as alkaline as possible, to try and get my bloods less acid, more alkaline, or my body less acid, more alkaline, to help with the inflammation. So my mom, and she stayed with me for the first part of this time in my life, which was around January, February 2020. And during that time, she was making me juices, juicing all by herself. And let's not forget, she's a lady at that stage. I think she was 90 or 89. But give a lady a purpose, and golly, she was incredible. She was an absolute machine. So she was juicing at that time. It was carrots, green apples, beetroot, I think, turmeric, ginger. There was one other thing that has just slipped my mind at the moment, and that was it was quite a detox kind of juicing. So I started just with 1 glass a day, and then worked up to 3 glasses a day. And it does. I mean, this gave me headaches. I got more pains in my body from it, but it definitely did help. From there, when she had to go back home, her and my brother, they carried on with this, and my brother would bring the juices down to me. They would freeze them and bring them down. And now it was changed to a far more alkaline juice, which would then see me through, and I would have this every day, and I had it for up to 4 years. Um, and that juice was kale, kohlrabi. I don't know if you know kohlrabi. It's almost like it doesn't grow under the ground, it grows just above the ground, but it's like a cruciferous um, kind of veg. It tastes almost like a mild cabbage, and then red cabbage, because the red vegetables are very good. Beetroot, what else? Cucumber, celery, all of those that really are very alkaline. So that carried, as I said, and my brother was amazing. He would go and get the organic from the market, from the vegetable market. At that stage, it was the Shongweni Farmers Market that had an amazing organic section. And then the mushroom farm up in Alveston, which is kind of Hillcresty area near the Hillcrest Busamed Hospital. They've also got an amazing vegetable shop with very clean vegetables. So where possible, that was what was done. When that wasn't possible, I did have to buy from the shops, knowing that they were probably had more pesticides. And I want to just tell you at this stage, while we're still on the juices, that going organic is expensive. Finding organic is expensive. Um, Keeping it up it can be impossible for many people, especially when job prospects are lowered because of disease, when the people around you are trying their best and doing it out of their own pocket. There comes a time when you just have to do the best you can do, and don't beat up on yourself about it. So when that was organic, they are soaked in vinegar to get any residue that could be noxious. And when it was the more the shop bought, then it needs the bicarb added to the vinegar. And I've been told, and this is what I've gone on, so if you can tell me differently, I'm happy to learn, that this does help remove any of the excess pesticide and preservative that they put onto the veg to keep it looking good for longer in the shop. So yes, did the best we could, and I'm so grateful for that. What happened though is in this in November 2021, I had to go for an MRI just so that we could see the state of my bones. My body was doing well. The blood tests every month, every second month, were good. They were stable. You know, everything was. It was. I mean, it's still showing the myeloma, but it's stable. You know, it's not going out of control. But but it is my bones that are the problem. They're the ones that keep on getting softer, being broken down, etc. So we did need to see how they were doing. And what it found, the MRI found, was at the site of my first operation at the L3, the tumor had regrown, but onto the fin of the cervix, not cervix, sorry, vertebra. Gosh, that's a very different place. So the round part is the part that had been taken away and or that had collapsed and the cage fitted, but it was that little, I always call it like the little fin at the back, that the tumor had continued to grow on, and it was going into the canal, where all the nerves are, spinal column. So if it had continued to grow, it would have paralyzed me because it would have strangled the column at that stage, and I would have been paralyzed from the waist down. So my option was to have radiation or to just hope it would go away. Now, in cases like this, you have to be pragmatic. I had already been working really hard at staying healthy. The tumor, it's not a cell tumor. What do you call it? Like I can't even think of the word at the moment. It's a tumor that's caused by the myeloma. So it's like a blood tumor, a marrow tumor. Really, it's a myelomic tumor. So nothing had helped it. Was growing. So I accepted that I would need radiation. The oncologist he understands what I want in my life, and that I don't want something that's not going to be helpful. And he explained that he would do as low a radiation as possible for 20 days, which was 5 days during the week, and then the weekends were left off, or public holidays were left off. So I agreed to this, and it would be over December. So the first day they did it from the front and the back of my abdomen, and I was so sick, so sick. I had a burning stomach. I couldn't cope. So I spoke to the oncologist and I said, oh no, honestly, this isn't going to work. I'm feeling like my stomach is burning up. So to go through another 19 days of this, I don't even know what kind of state I'm going to be in at the end of it. So he said, okay, that's all right. What we'll do is we'll just do the radiation from the back. So it would focus on that part of the tumor. But he said, I've still got to know that, of course, the radiation goes right through. So there would still be some damage done to my small intestine and my stomach, duodenal area. So I knew that was coming. Okay, I was aware of it. And to counter it, I continued with the juices. I continued with the healthy eating as much as possible, just eating more bland and softer foods to just help my stomach and not put too much pressure on it. I want to say at this stage, it took another village to help me through the radiation. 5 friends and family got together and they did 1 day each. They did a roster. So every one of them would come one day, pick me up, take me for radiation, wait for me, bring me back home. They never complained. They did it with absolute love. And I will never be able to make it up to them. It is an absolute gift that I have to just accept, and I pray that one day I can pay it forward. And I look at these videos as hopefully one way I am paying it forward by helping other people to just know that there's other people out there who are trying to look after their health as much as possible in various ways. Especially when you get a diagnosis where you're told it's totally incurable. It can be so frightening. So my greatest thanks to all 5 of you. It means the world. Continuing with the fallout from the radiation, my stomach was definitely damaged. What happened from then on is I eat and it comes right through. I've been struggling with this now for a year, and at last I'm trying, because I've been trying a lot of other things like softer food, gentler food, all of that. So now what I'm doing is trying to up the enzymes and get as much healthy bacteria as possible into my stomach. So making kombucha, thank you to Sprout It. If you ever want a person who's going to help you empower yourself on making your own kombucha, kefir. I haven't gone the kefir route yet because that takes a bit more dedication, which I've just got to be aware of before I start it. I'm trying a sourdough starter, not having much success. So if anyone knows more about getting a sourdough starter healthy, I'd be so grateful. All of these things are to just try and improve the bacteria, the health of my gut, and hopefully that will eventually heal my gut. So that's definitely a big downside of radiation. The upside is it did move that tumor away from my spinal column, for which I am eternally grateful. So the other thing that happened was my hair. My hair went so thin, brittle, dry. Even my hairdresser was saying to me, Sue, honestly, you've just got to get used to having straight hair now. I've always had a wave in my hair, and it was ridiculous. I just had this hair that just fell, and I didn't know what to do with it. And it took a year. She cut my hair in December, early December, and you can see there's curl back, there's wave. It's softer, it's healthier, but it took a whole year to work through my body. So those are just things to remember. We sometimes do need intervention, or we choose intervention because we don't. It really is. It's everyone's journey is so personal that I have learned to just shut my mouth and just support anyone with the journey that they are struggling with. No one knows what it's like except that person. And again, I'm grateful to all those around me. They support me and my choices. So again, I'm forever grateful for my village. If you want to know more about that, but I think I have covered it quite extensively now, we'll just get back to the food plan and how it's changed. Excuse me. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Sorry about that. So back to the food. As I've already said, the vegetables, I've spent time on that. The next thing is sugars. So anything that changes to sugar, converts to sugar, cancer cells love it. Or even not even cancer cells. I should just say deviant cells, because it's my plasma cells that are overpowering my red blood cells. So, but even them, a sugar base is a yeast base. It has the potential to form a beautiful compost, if you like, for these cells to go crazy in. Take example, an excellent example is candida. People where candida is running rampant through their body, they normally have a high sugar, sugar intake, and that's how we know is that their breath even smells like alcohol if they've got a really bad case of candida, and they don't drink, but they will smell like alcohol because the sugar is being converted to alcohol in their stomach by the yeast that's forming. So sugar was out as much as possible. And why I say as much as possible, because there are still foods that you eat that will convert to sugar. And you've just got to know that, look, our bodies need good sugars anyway. We need the healthy sugars to live. It's part of our makeup. So fruit-wise, at that stage, at beginning stages, I only had berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, gooseberries. My brother planted a gooseberry tree, and I still get the most beautiful bush. I mean, I still get the most divine gooseberries from him, and my sister-in-law. He also, Brad, my brother, also bought a book called Beating Cancer with Nutrition. And I want to just show it to you because it's one of many books that that have been extremely useful. And this author is Dr. Patrick Quillen. He focuses on nutrition, supplements, all of those kind of aids. But if a person is doing chemo, he will explain how you need to eat if you're doing chemo. If you are choosing not to do chemo and do it in other ways, he will help with that. It really has been the most incredible book. So I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that, but it is something that I would offer to anyone who asks, where can I get help? That one for nutrition, for food, was very helpful. There's some things that I don't go with because it's for different occasions or different types of bodies, and that's also okay. You take what you can and you leave what is not helpful. There's a beautiful saying, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that's how I feel very much about this journey I'm on. At the beginning I was very anti any medical intervention, and as time has gone on, I've realized that there's always a balance, and where am I prepared to go on that balancing act, and where am I not prepared to go. The other choice that had to be made for me was meat or no meat. With multiple myeloma, we have to have high iron, and a group that does very good work with cancer patients. I don't want to mention them because I think that might be a copyright infringement, so I'm not going to mention them. But they do a lot of juicing, a lot of coffee enemas, and so on, which is extremely helpful and has helped very many people. And when I spoke to them, I sent them an email asking about multiple myeloma. They said that they can't really help with multiple myeloma. Before they went into totally vegetarian and raw veg as much as possible, they did used to treat myeloma patients effectively using liver enzymes. So there is a need for that type of iron to help to benefit the myeloma patient, the patient with myeloma. For that reason, I do eat meat. I try and eat as clean as possible, grass-fed, hormone-free, and focus more on liver, the internal organs, which do give the enzymes that I need. For vegetarians, I'm sorry, skip through this part because I'm sure it would not be nice for you to hear, and I apologize for that, but it is my story, so I need to tell it. It doesn't mean that I can go crazy with meat. I did, because meat is high in acid, and one of the pages I found very helpful was a chart of alkaline acid food, and meat, beans, all of the lovely proteins are actually quite acid, and so you have to always do a juggling act. If I'm going to have meat, then I must have a lot of very alkaline veg to offset it. If I'm going to have beans, because I now have added beans and other types of protein, quinoa, I've added those to my diet. so that I have a variation of protein as well. Even though myeloma talks about too much protein in the body, it's a different kind of protein. It's a protein that the body makes. It's not a protein that you actually ingest. The protein you're ingesting is to keep your iron levels as good as possible, because with myeloma, it's very easy to become anemic because you lose iron, which then puts pressure on your liver and kidneys. So that's how it really is a juggling act. After that, I'm focusing now more on the balancing act of alkaline acid. For example, over December this year, December 2022, I was hurtful, tired of being the good girl, always doing the right food, always saying no to food that I've loved my whole life, or all the junk foods, you know. And it was like the rebel in me just said, that's it. I'm fed up. I'm going to go and eat what's offered to me when it comes. So at Christmas, I had mince pies. I had those Christmas biscuits. We had a lovely thing on Christmas Day where we decorated Christmas biscuits. My nephew's girlfriend, she introduced us to a tradition that's used in her house, and it was just so great. It was such a bonding time for the whole family to be sitting around the Christmas table decorating biscuits. And so I ate those happily. And I'm still unrepentant, as you can see. But my body did struggle. I'm also struggling again with coffee. Coffee keeps me awake, gives me the energy I need, because my energies are very low. But what it does is it causes too much acid in my body. So at the moment, my left arm is just about useless. I'm in so much pain. I look good, but it doesn't take away from the fact that my bones are constantly in pain. I don't like talking about it all the time because it's depressing, and that's no way to go. And I will be speaking about mental health in another video. So yeah, that was my breakout, and it showed in my blood. In January, I had to go for another blood test before my bone strengthener drip, and it showed my inflammation markers had increased a lot. So it's back to the as alkaline food as possible. I did ask Mom and my brother to stop making the juices for a while because it was hurting my stomach, and I think it was just because it was it's quite strong, and I think with the stomach being in the state it is, I probably need to do a bit more healing before I can go back to the juices. But I definitely do want to go back to them because they do keep my body far more alkaline. The other thing I forgot to mention was stock. Again, my brother, he was making me beef stock. My mom was making me chicken stock using organic, hormone-free bones. And I was drinking half a cup a day. And I kind of like stopped that as well because it felt like it was too much. And I started to feel slightly nauseous with it. So I realized that it had done its job, and I obviously was okay now from that perspective. So, you know, the nutrition has changed, but what hasn't changed is being aware of what is working and what's not working. And when things stop working, it's absolutely okay to say, all right, I'm not going to do that anymore. What else can I do? Ask questions, read books, and you know, Google has an amazing research section where you can look up research papers, which are also very helpful. Because with myeloma, there's been a lot of interesting breakthroughs, and we'll probably talk about those in another episode. So that's the end for now of my nutrition journey. I am back to healthy eating, still struggling with the coffee, but what I would like to say is thank you if you've made it this far in the video, and I look forward to chatting to you again next week, and I really hope you enjoy the content of this video. Bye for now.